In the heart of a chaotic ambush where enemy fire pinned down a critically wounded soldier, a remarkable tale of heroism unfolded that would leave an indelible mark on military history. Staff Sergeant Mike Sullivan lay bleeding on the rocky Afghan terrain, escape impossible as insurgents closed in. Yet his loyal K-9 partner, Rex, a Belgian Malinois with an almost supernatural intelligence, sensed the imminent danger and made a life-saving decision that defied every instinct, changing everything. This is the incredible story of their unbreakable bond, a testament to courage, loyalty, and sacrifice. Before diving into the heart of this tale, let us know in the comments where you're watching from and subscribe to the channel, as tomorrow at the same time, we'll bring you another unforgettable story of heroism from the world's most extraordinary military canines. Mike Sullivan's boots crunched against the unforgiving Afghan landscape as he patrolled the perimeter of Forward Operating Base. Warrior, his faithful companion, Rex padding silently beside him. The Belgian Malinois moved with fluid grace, his muscular frame a testament to years of specialized training. But it wasn't Rex's physical prowess that set him apart. It was the intelligence in his amber eyes, a quality that seemed almost supernatural to those who witnessed him work. Mike had seen that look 3 years ago when they first met at BORS, the Military Working Dog Training Center at Fort Benning. Rex had already earned a reputation as the handler's nightmare, not for lack of capability, but because he was too capable. 2 handlers had requested transfers, claiming the dog was uncontrollable, that he didn't follow commands because he thought he knew better. The training instructor's words still echoed in Mike's memory. "Sullivan, this is Rex. Good luck. You're going to need it." But Mike saw something different in those eyes. Where others saw defiance, he recognized intelligence. Where they saw stubbornness, he saw independent thinking. On that first day, instead of asserting command, Mike sat in the training yard and waited. Rex studied him, head tilted, ears forward. Then, to everyone's surprise, walked over and sat. Beside him, no commands, no treats, just 2 warriors recognizing something in each other that went beyond training manuals. 3 years and countless missions later, their connection had only grown stronger. They became the most successful explosive ordnance disposal K-9 team in Regional Command South, with over 60 confirmed IED detections. The locals nicknamed Rex the Ghost for his uncanny ability to appear where danger lurked. During one patrol, Rex suddenly stopped, ears twitching as he stared at the distant mountains. His body language had shifted over the past few days, showing a tension only Mike could read, a heightened alertness that went beyond his usual vigilance. Something was coming, and Mike trusted those instincts without question. "What are you picking up, buddy?" Mike murmured, crouching beside his partner. Rex met his gaze, and in that moment Mike felt the weight of their shared responsibility. They weren't just a team, they were the thin line between their fellow soldiers and the hidden dangers of this unforgiving landscape. Their last mission had proven how deadly those dangers could be. 3 days prior, Rex had refused to advance at a suspected cache site, planting himself firmly despite commands. A drone scan later revealed a sophisticated trap that would have killed anyone who entered. The incident earned them a commendation, but more importantly, it reinforced what Mike already knew. Rex's instincts transcended training. As the sun climbed over the Hindu Kush Mountains, casting long shadows across the base, Mike couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to face their greatest test yet. Intelligence reports warned of insurgents developing new IEDs, harder to detect, more lethal than ever. But with Rex by his side, Mike felt ready for any challenge. Their bond, forged in training and strengthened in combat, was unique, proven in moments when everything hung in the balance. Little did Mike know, as they completed their morning patrol, that their bond would soon be tested in ways he could never have imagined. In the pre-dawn briefing room, tension hummed as Captain Rodriguez addressed the team, his weathered face lit by tactical displays. Outside, the first hints of morning painted the mountains in purple and gold, but all eyes were fixed on the satellite imagery spread across the command table. "Listen up," Rodriguez's voice cut through the murmurs. "Intel has confirmed a critical medical convoy moving through the Khaki Valley at 1300 hours. 14 vehicles, including 3 carrying emergency surgical supplies for the Children's Hospital in Lashkar Gah." He paused, letting the stakes sink in. "But there's a complication." Lieutenant Cooper stepped forward, clicking through thermal images. "We've detected unusual movement patterns in 3 sectors. The insurgents are evolving their tactics. Our sources indicate they've developed a new type of IED, minimal metal content, potentially undetectable by conventional sweeps." Mike felt Rex shift beside him, the dog's ears alert as if he understood the gravity of the briefing. Around them, soldiers exchanged uneasy glances. They'd all heard whispers of these new devices that could slip past detection, leaving only destruction in their wake. "That's why Sullivan and Rex will be taking point," Rodriguez continued, meeting Mike's eyes. "Your team has the best detection record in the AO, and today we need that more than ever. Those medical supplies are the difference between life and death for dozens of children." Mike studied the map, mentally plotting their approach, while his hand found the spot behind Rex's ear that helped them both focus. "What's our time window, sir?" "You'll deploy in 30 minutes, need to clear 15 clicks of road before the convoy moves through. Martinez's team will provide overwatch from ridgeline positions, but be advised, weather's predicting a sandstorm by mid-afternoon. If you're not done by then, visibility drops to 0. The briefing continued with tactical details, but Mike's mind was already running through contingencies, the countless ways things could go wrong in this harsh landscape where death hid beneath the dust. Rex pressed slightly against his leg, their private signal of readiness. As the team dispersed to gear up, Cooper pulled Mike aside, lowering his voice. "Sullivan, there's something else. We've lost 3 local informants in the past week, just vanished. Could be nothing, but they're watching the route." Mike finished the thought. This wasn't just about finding IEDs. They were walking into a trap days or weeks in the making. In the armory, Mike checked their equipment while Rex underwent his pre-mission routine: tactical vest, lightweight boots, canine goggles to shield his eyes from the biting sand. "Ready for this, boy?" Mike asked softly. Rex's steady gaze conveyed a certainty no words could match. This was what they lived for, moments when lives hung in the balance and success meant the difference between tragedy and triumph. As they stepped into the growing light, the security element falling into position, Mike felt the familiar mix of tension and focus. The morning sun cast their shadows long across the packed earth, a handler, a dog, and a mission that would test the limits of their legendary bond. The first rays of sunlight crept across the valley as Mike and Rex began their methodical sweep of the route, each step a delicate dance, perfected over countless missions. The security element maintained distance, weapons ready, watching the ridgelines where shadows could hide watchful eyes. Rex moved with precision, his nose working the air currents as they swept from one sector to the next. The morning heat built, turning the valley into a shimmering haze of dust and tension. 2 hours into their sweep, they discovered and marked 3 conventional IEDs, the kind that had become routine in their deadly game of hide-and-seek. "Multiple devices, Sector Charlie," Mike reported, marking the latest find with a specialized flag. "Old tech, pressure plate triggered. Appears to be their standard pattern." But something felt off. These devices were too obvious almost, like breadcrumbs leading them deeper into the valley. Rex suddenly stopped, his head lifting as he caught something on the wind. Mike read the subtle shift in his partner's body language, the raised hackles, the way his ears tracked multiple sounds. Something had changed in the air. "Hold position," Mike signaled to the security team. The valley had gone quiet. Too quiet. Even the morning birds had fallen silent, as if the air was holding its breath. Rex's movements became more deliberate, his sweeping pattern intense. He was no longer just searching, he was hunting. A local shepherd appeared on the ridgeline, moving his flock across higher ground. Normal for the time of day, but Rex's reaction told a different story. The dog's muscles tensed, his focus split between the ground and the movement above. Mike had seen this behavior before, when Rex sensed a larger picture humans couldn't grasp. "Something's not right," Mike murmured into his radio. "Rex is picking up irregular patterns. These devices we're finding, they're not the main threat." Lieutenant Cooper's voice crackled back. "Drone surveillance shows normal activity in your sector, but we've got reports of locals clearing out of the villages ahead. They know something we don't." The sun climbed higher, and with it, the first hints of the promised sandstorm appeared, a distant brown wall that would soon turn day into twilight. They were only halfway through their route, and time was becoming another enemy. Rex led them into a narrow section where weathered mud brick walls created a choke point. His pace slowed, each step more cautious. Mike felt the hair on his neck rise. Years of experience had taught him to trust these moments of instinctive dread. "Multiple structures on our 3 and 9 diam," reported Sergeant Martinez from Overwatch. "No movement visible, but lots of potential hiding spots." Mike watched as Rex stopped dead, his head turning sharply to the right. There was a new tension in the dog's frame, one Mike had seen only a handful of times. It wasn't just explosives, it was something more, setting off every finely tuned instinct in the K9. "Pull back," Mike commanded, his voice low but urgent. "Something's—" Before he could finish, Rex let out a low growl, not his usual alert for explosives, but something deeper, primal. His eyes fixed on a pile of rubble near one of the walls. In that moment, Mike realized what Rex had already figured out. They weren't just finding IEDs, they were being herded, pushed where someone wanted them to be. The radio crackled with static, and in that brief noise, Mike caught movement in his peripheral vision. A shadow where none should be, a glint of metal in the growing haze of the approaching storm. Rex's muscles coiled, ready to spring, as the quiet morning air felt like the calm before an unstoppable storm. The first explosion came not from below, but from the wall to the right. A direct blast sending chunks of mud brick and shrapnel tearing through the air. Mike barely registered the detonation when Rex slammed into him, forcing him sideways as a second explosion ripped through their previous position. "Contact! Multiple shooters, high ground!" Martinez's voice crackled, followed by the sharp roar of covering fire. The radio signal distorted, breaking up, jammed. Through the settling dust and growing chaos, Mike fought to regain his bearings. Pain lanced through his left side where shrapnel had found gaps in his armor. Rex stayed low, scanning threats with military precision, his training overriding the instinct to flee. 3 o'clock, second story, Mike shouted. Spotting, muzzle flashes. The security team responded, forcing the shooter back. But this wasn't just an ambush, it was an elaborately planned trap, and they were in the middle of it. The sandstorm's leading edge threw dust into the firefight, reducing visibility and adding to the confusion. Mike tasted copper in his mouth as he tried to move to better cover, each breath more difficult. The initial blast had done more damage than he'd realized. Rex stayed glued to his side, reading the battlefield with senses sharper than any human's. A third explosion rocked the ground, one of the conventional IEDs they'd marked earlier. The insurgents were driving them back, forcing them toward undiscovered devices. "Sullivan, what's your status?" Captain Rodriguez's voice cut through static. Mike tried to respond, but pain shot through his chest. His hand came away. From his side covered in blood, shrapnel had found an artery. "Man down! Sullivan's hit!" someone called. The world tilted, colors bleeding as shock set in. Rex's sharp bark cut through the haze, bringing Mike's focus back. The dog's ears were forward, teeth bared at shapes approaching through the dust. Mike fumbled for his sidearm, but his arms felt heavy, unresponsive. "Rex," he whispered, "guard." It was a command they'd practiced countless times, but never like this. Rex positioned himself between Mike and the approaching threats, his frame coiled and ready. The insurgents had planned this perfectly. Initial IEDs as distraction, explosives in the walls, signal jamming, and the sandstorm providing cover for their advance. Through blurry vision, Mike saw at least 5 figures moving closer, using the limited visibility. Rex let out a deep growl that seemed to vibrate through the ground, despite his training as an explosive detection dog. Every muscle communicated he was ready to engage. The approaching figures hesitated. They hadn't expected the K9 to remain composed amid the chaos. "Good boy," Mike whispered, fighting to stay conscious. Blood pooled beneath him, and the pain turned into a dangerous numbness. Rex's ear twitched at his voice, but he maintained his protective stance, understanding his handler's life depended on his actions. A burst of gunfire kicked up dust near their position, and Rex responded with fierce barks, echoing off the walls and creating confusion about their location in the growing storm. Mike heard shouting in Pashto, the insurgents coordinating their next move. Through radio static, broken transmissions painted a grim picture. The security element was pinned down, unable to reach them. The sandstorm, limited air support, and more hidden, undetectable IEDs waited in the dust. As darkness crept into his vision, Mike looked at Rex, his partner, his guardian, his last hope. The dog stood unflinching, a warrior ready to defend his fallen handler. But Mike realized their usual tactics wouldn't be enough. Rex would need to make an impossible choice: stay and defend or leave to find help. The next few minutes would determine whether either of them would make it out alive. Meanwhile, 3 insurgents tried to flank their position using the storm as cover. Rex could smell their sweat, hear their whispered communications, and track their movements through ground vibrations. Each time they advanced, he let out aggressive barks, creating uncertainty about whether he was alone or if more soldiers were. "Hidden?" Mike stirred weakly. "Rex," he whispered, his voice barely audible above the wind. "Go get help." But Rex remained fixed, torn between his training to follow commands and his instinct to protect. His muscles trembled with the intensity of his focus, his mind processing complex tactical decisions that would impress even seasoned combat veterans. A sudden burst of gunfire kicked up dirt, and Rex lunged forward with a ferocious display of aggression, sending the nearest attackers scrambling backward. His actions bought precious seconds, but he could sense Mike's life ebbing away. In that moment, Rex made a decision that would later be studied in military K9 training programs. He circled back to Mike, pressing his muzzle gently against his handler's face, a goodbye, a promise to return. Then, before the insurgents could comprehend, Rex became a ghost in the storm. He moved like a shadow, using the poor visibility to his advantage. His paws found purchase in the uncertain terrain with uncanny precision, every sense focused on his destination and the threats around him. An insurgent appeared in his path. Rex darted past so quickly the man fired at empty air, giving away his position to the security element snipers. Rex knew exactly where he was going, even through the chaos and storm. He could smell the distinct scent of Lieutenant Cooper's team, positioned half a click back with a quick reaction force. The dog covered ground with incredible speed, his powerful muscles pushing through exhaustion, driven by the understanding that every second counted. A hidden IED lay in his path, one of the new, undetectable ones. Rex picked up its faint signature without breaking stride, adjusting his route instinctively. Later, The EOD team would marvel at how he navigated a virtual minefield while sprinting at full speed. When Rex burst through the dust into Cooper's position, the soldiers initially raised their weapons, not recognizing him in the brown haze. But Rex's actions left no doubt about his purpose. He grabbed Cooper's sleeve with careful but insistent pressure, pulling him toward Mike's location, then releasing and running back a few steps. The universal sign, "Follow me." "It's Sullivan's dog," Cooper shouted, immediately understanding. "Quick reaction force on me. The dog knows where they are." Within seconds, 6 operators fell in behind Rex, who was already moving back into the storm, this time as a guide. Rex led them on a perfect path through the chaos, avoiding hidden IEDs and potential ambush positions. His route wasn't the most direct, it was the most tactical, using available cover and staying in the security element's line of fire. When they were within 50 meters of Mike's position, Rex dropped low, signaling nearby threats. Cooper's team responded instantly to the dog's warning, just as 2 insurgents emerged from the dust. The firefight was brief but decisive. Rex used the distraction to slip past, racing back to Mike's side. He found his handler unconscious but alive, resuming his protective stance as Cooper's team secured the area. "Get the combat medic up here," Cooper ordered, checking Mike's pulse. "Stand guard." "Rex," he added unnecessarily. The dog was already scanning for threats, his body positioned to shield both his handler and the medic, who worked frantically to stop the bleeding. The combat medic's hands were steady despite the chaos. Multiple shrapnel wounds, arterial bleeding, but he's hanging on, she reported, applying specialized hemostatic dressings. Rex hadn't moved, his body angled to shield the medic's work while maintaining a protective watch. "Medevac inbound 5 minutes out," Cooper's radio crackled. "LZ is hot, we need to move him." The sandstorm was intensifying, creating a brown wall that made helicopter extraction increasingly dangerous. Every minute reduced their chances of getting Mike to the forward surgical team in time. Through the swirling dust, insurgent fire continued to probe their position. Rex's ears pricked forward, and he let out a low warning growl. Seconds later, bullets impacted nearby, forcing the team to adjust cover. The dog's ability to detect incoming attacks had become an early warning system. "We need to move, now," Cooper ordered, as the thrum of helicopter rotors cut through the wind. "2-man carry. Everyone else provides coverage. Rex, scout." The dog immediately understood, moving ahead to check for threats and IEDs as they began their careful withdrawal toward the landing zone. Mike regained consciousness briefly during the move, his first instinct to check for his partner. "Rex," he mumbled through blood-stained lips. The dog glanced back at his handler's voice but maintained his protective duties, leading them through the safest route possible. The helicopter appeared as a dark shadow in the storm, touching down in a swirl of dust and debris. Rex stayed close as they loaded Mike, watching every movement, every shadow. When the insurgents made their final push to prevent the extraction, Rex was the first to alert the team, his sharp bark cutting through the rotor noise moments before. Enemy fire erupted from multiple positions. "Get them in now," the pilot commanded, as the team laid down suppressing fire. Rex made a split-second decision, leaping into the helicopter just as it started to lift off, positioning himself next to Mike's stretcher. His body pressed against his handler, helping stabilize him during the flight. The flight medic, initially startled by the dog's presence, quickly realized Rex wouldn't interfere. Instead, his presence seemed to stabilize Mike's vital signs, the wounded soldier's hand finding his partner's fur, anchoring him to consciousness as they raced toward the forward surgical team at Camp Bastion. Rex maintained his vigilant watch, his eyes moving between his handler and the helicopters, open door, ready to face any threat. The bond between handler and dog, already legendary among their unit, had transcended training and entered a realm far deeper, a connection stronger than bullets, bombs, or the forces of nature itself. the fluorescent lights of camp bastions. Hospital cast a sterile glow across Mike's room. 2 weeks had passed since the ambush, and Rex hadn't left the hospital grounds once. The medical staff had given up trying to enforce protocols. The dog had earned his place, just as he'd earned the special commendation now hanging in the unit's headquarters. Mike's recovery was miraculous. Surgeons had removed 17 pieces of shrapnel, repaired a severed artery, and dealt with multiple secondary infections. Through it all, Rex remained a constant presence, sleeping beside the bed, alerting nurses when Mike's vitals changed before their machines could catch it. "Your dog," the lead surgeon told Mike when he regained full consciousness. "He's something else. We've had military working dogs here before, but nothing like this. He understands everything. Medication times, shift changes, even which alarms mean something serious." During physical therapy, Rex walked beside Mike's wheelchair, then his walker, matching his pace to his handler's struggling steps. The dog's unwavering presence became a source of motivation, pushing Mike to heal faster. Captain Rodriguez visited one afternoon, bringing news that surprised no one who knew their story. "They're calling it the Rex Protocol now," he said, watching the dog maintain his protective position by Mike's bed. "New training modules based on his actions that day. That route you were clearing. After the ambush, they found 37 of those new IEDs. Rex didn't just save you, he saved every convoy that would have come through there." Mike reached down to scratch behind Rex's ears, their eyes meeting in that knowing way that had always been part of their bond. "We've got the best jobs in the world, don't we, buddy?" he said softly. Rex's tail thumped against the floor, his eyes never leaving his handler's face. They both knew that as soon as Mike was cleared for duty, they'd be back out there together. Two warriors, one heart, protecting others as they protected each other. The story of Mike and Rex serves as a powerful reminder of the extraordinary bonds formed between military handlers and their K-9 partners. Their tale isn't just about heroism. It's about a connection so deep it transcends the barriers between human and animal. A partnership forged in training and proven in the crucible of combat. If this story touched your heart, make sure to leave a like, hit that subscribe button, and turn on notifications by clicking the bell icon. Share this video with someone who needs a reminder of the incredible bonds we share with these remarkable animals. What would you do if you were in Mike's position, facing impossible odds with your loyal partner by your side? Have you ever witnessed an extraordinary act of loyalty from an animal? Share your thoughts in the comments below.